G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Ben. Today we're going to have a chat about a movie I just watched called Cosmic Sin. It's out on Netflix, so you can check it out if you want. Let's have a chat. Oh man, this movie was hard to watch. And I've just found out that it has a 3% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes as of the time of filming this video. Look, the premise wasn't horrible. I'll talk about it in a sec. It's pretty standard, but it's more like the execution. It honestly really, there are some big names in this film, and it really just seemed like it was kind of amateur hour in Hollywood. There were a lot of things that you could see what they were trying to achieve. You could see the direction they were trying to go, or the emotion they were trying to evoke, or whatever it might be. But it just wasn't set up properly, and as such, it just felt really corny. And there were so many cliches in this film. It honestly felt like it was dreamt up in the 80s and they just only had a chance to make it now in 2021. So the world sets up, on Earth, and it's like 2500, whatever. That's roughly the year. People are jumping around in spacesuits and traveling through space tunnels and things like that. And they are just now having their first encounter with an alien life force. All that's okay. It's pretty standard, pretty typical sci-fi trope. It works well. But it's how they went about telling that story that is laughable to me. For example, I think he's like General of the Army, played by Frank Grillo, spoiler. And he, is driving in his truck and he gets a call that says, look, we've just had first contact with aliens. And so he proceeds to slam on his brakes in the middle of driving. I know it's been done a million times before, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of cheesy and corny, and it would have been straight out of a film in the 80s. As he's then, relaying some orders to whoever's on the phone, he's like, get this disgraced former general in to help us out. It's, again, so typical of like an 80s movie. Like, while you're at it, get General Connor out of the brig. But sir, he's a criminal. Do it, goddammit! He's the only chance we've got. Like, it's not that blatant, but it's pretty close. And they find this disgraced former general in a bar drinking whiskey. They're always in a bar, and they're always at the bar too. They're not just in a bar, in a booth, or at a table, or playing pool or something. They're always sitting at the bar. Generally leather jacket. I can't remember if he has a leather jacket on or not, but usually leather jacket, sitting at the bar, doesn't want to be dealt with by anyone, doesn't want any trouble or some crap like that. And they're always drinking whiskey. Like, always. It's never vodka, it's never beer, never gin, never any sort of cocktail. It's just whiskey. Straight up. Done. Now you might be thinking, as I was, that this disgraced former general will have some sort of bearing on the plot. Nope. Not even a little bit. Other than, there's like a little bit where they talk about him back in his heyday, and apparently he dropped a bomb on a bunch of people, and he's sort of famous / infamous, depending on which side of the fence you sit on. But other than that, he's really just another member of the cast. And to make things even more eye-roll worthy, this disgraced former general had a one-time relationship / marriage with, I don't even know who she is, someone who's still currently working in the military / government. So they obviously then come into contact because she's still working for the military. He's brought in to help the military. Oh no, tension. There is no tension though. There's nothing. It's just a thing. Like, there's no interesting conversation. There's no real fight between them. There's no tense moments. There's like one quick little chat where she mentions that he liked being a soldier more than he liked being a husband, and you're like, well, okay, that's it. Like there's no kind of emotional pull whatsoever in regards to that relationship. It's literally just a thing that's thrown in there, just to make the audience go like, oh wow, maybe this will be tense, but it's not. And that's kind of the theme with this movie. Like, there's just things, but they have no connection to anything else. They're just in there, right? Like, there's a girl who's an engineer, and she is, the first time we see her, she's kind of preening and purring over her motorbike. Like, literally, she's like, oh baby, I've missed you. Have you missed me too? No one talks like that. Honestly, no one talks like that. Why are we still having people talk to their vehicles as if they're intimate lovers? It's weird. Stop it. But anyway, why is that bit in there? Like, it doesn't do anything. All it does is detract from the movie. Like, maybe, and I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head right now, so don't be too hard on me. Maybe if further on in the movie she had to build a makeshift motorbike out of all these weird spare parts because A, she loves motorbikes, and B, she's an awesome engineer, that could have some sort of connection to this bit where she's gushing over her motorbike, right? But that doesn't happen. There's no connection to it. It's just a thing, and then we move on. In that same scene, we have her sergeant, just as she's about to get on the motorbike, we have her sergeant run over and like, hey, we've got an alien encounter. Your leave's been cancelled. Let's go. Get back in base. And she's like, no, Sarge, like, I'm on leave. I'm not supposed to even be here. He's like, well, you're in the army. Let's go. Like, you swore an oath. Your country needs you. Kind of thing. And she puts up a bit of a fight. Bit more complaining, and he's like, listen, like, I need a wrench. And she doesn't even look at him weirdly or give him any daggers or anything. He's like, don't look at me like that. I'm calling you a wrench because you're an engineer. Thanks, scriptwriter. Like, that line is clearly only in there to tell us, the idiot audience, that a wrench is a nickname for an engineer. Like, it's not even hard to figure out either. Like, a few minutes later, literally maybe 5 or 6 minutes later, she's working on something, probably with a wrench, with some sort of tools, and we have people using the term wrench and engineer interchangeably. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that wrench is a nickname for an engineer or a mechanic. So you don't have to spell that out to us, right? Like, it sometimes happens in Christopher Nolan films, but Christopher Nolan films are so out there, you need like a physics degree to understand it. So then when his characters kind of info dump, you're like, oh, sweet, good, thank you for explaining that to me because I totally wasn't getting it. But in this, you're like, he's talking to an engineer, which is, I know I'm like probably going to upset people, but a, glorified mechanic in a lot of ways. They both use wrenches, and he's nicknamed, like, calling her a wrench. And it's like, yeah, no, I can figure that out by myself. I don't need you to spell that out for me like I'm an idiot. There's just so many silly things in this movie. Like, so many silly little things. Like, there's a guy who's been shot, presumably dying, and another soldier walks up to him. He's like, hey, don't you even think about dying or I'll kill you. Oh, okay, tough guy. What, do you think you're funny? Like, you're only funny because I'm laughing at you. Because no one says that in any movie in the last 50 years. No one has ever said anything like that outside of a corny action movie that no one took seriously. So the fact that you've put that line in the film tells me that you know you're making a corny action movie that no one's going to take seriously. A short time later, spoiler, that soldier does die. And then the guy who, the funny tough guy, he's an emotional wreck. Like, he's bawling his eyes out. Now, I'm not here to say that men can't cry. Like, absolutely. If you're upset about it, cry. But as far as we know, these two blokes met each other 5 minutes ago. Like, there's no connection between the two of them. I don't even think they had any interaction prior to this scene. There's no talk that they went through training together, or they've served together for a decade, or they've been in a dozen different conflicts, or anything to tell us that they've got some sort of connection which would justify one of them being distraught that the other one has died. Like, I mean, it's still a sad moment. Obviously, you don't want people to die. You don't want your teammates to die, whether you like them or not. But it just doesn't justify the emotional response. That's what I mean when I say, like, you can see where this movie was going, but it's not set up properly to actually get there. So they're trying to tell you that these guys are so close, that this guy's going to be really upset that that guy died, or if roles were reversed, the other one would be upset that the other one died. But it's not set up in any way, so you're just left wondering why this guy's crying over a apparent stranger dying. And then we get to the aliens. And it's so weird. I still don't even have it all figured out. Like, do you remember Stargate and those worm things that, like, jumped down people's throats? And then the human was a host to keep that alive. Like, that was the alien. It was kind of like that, in that humans were hosts of the alien. but the way they they made you drink their blood and then you became like an alien. Like, I don't really get it. I don't really understand it at all. And then all the logical thinkers are sitting there going, okay, sure, like, whatever. Aliens are using humans as hosts. Like, I can get behind it. Stargate did it really well. But there's got to be a point, right? There's going to be a point to this situation. Turns out that the aliens are just out to prove that they are the apex predators in the universe. And we know this because we get a monologue from, like, I guess the lead alien saying, we're here to destroy you to prove that we are the apex predator in the universe. Like, I just can't take you seriously when you're like that. You know, I can't, honestly, it's like you got a bunch of children to write the script, which I'm sure they didn't, but that's just how it comes across. It seems very juvenile and amateurish, and, you know, like someone was, maybe they were frozen, kind of Captain America style. They were, you know, writing a script for the 70s or the 80s where this kind of corny action movie would have probably thrived. In fact, it might have been a hit. And then they've somehow like been in a coma for the last however many years, and they come out and they want to make this movie, but it's not going to fly with today's audience, you know? It's such a weird thing. The film stars Bruce Willis and Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo, I think, has made like some questionable choices in his life. Bruce Willis, I guess, has as well. He hasn't always been in good movies, but he's enough of a movie star that you can reasonably understand that that's where the budget for this film went, towards Bruce Willis, and then a little bit to Frank Grillo, and the rest of them were just like, we'll give you free food for a couple of weeks. Like, it can't have gone to the screenwriting, it can't have gone to the CGI, it can't have gone to the props, can't have gone to any of the other actors because they were embarrassing. Honestly, I don't really know what else to say. There's not a lot of good action, there's not a lot of good special effects. The acting is horrible, the plot is underwhelming for anyone that's seen a film in the last 50 years. My wife was sitting next to me as I was watching this, and I kept groaning at every corny little thing, which I haven't even listed them all here. I could go on and on and on. But she was like, why don't you just turn it off then? Like, if you're not enjoying it, why don't you just turn it off? And it makes sense, I get it. But I can't do that. I need to watch and see. Like, maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes redeems the rest of the movie. It didn't in this case, but you never know, right? So I watched the whole movie. I recommend not watching the movie. Just watch this video. And that will tell you everything you need to know. Anyway, guys, that's about it. That's all I've got for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. As always, stay cool.